Did you see it? Did you see the end of the Egg Bowl? Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Rivalry week is upon us. It's here. It's here. And we may not see a crazier finish than what we saw at the Mississippi State-Ole Miss game. But with all the great rivalries and great games and key matchups coming up, I would not be surprised if it got even zanier than that. That is a rivalry there in Starkville, Mississippi versus Oxford, Mississippi, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, the Battle of the Magnolia State that actually I covered from 1994 to 2000. So I made my way to 6 or 7 Mississippi State Ole Miss games, and it's very intense. Nationally meant nothing. We had a 5-6 team taking on a 4-7 team. Meant absolutely nothing. Neither one of those teams anywhere close to even the mid-tier of the SEC. Completely forgotten have been the Bulldogs and the Rebels most of this season, all of this season by College Football Nation. But on this night, Thanksgiving night, if you were watching college football, of course you were watching this game. Maybe you're watching the Atlanta Falcons and the New Orleans Saints, possibly. But if you're not, you're watching Mississippi State and Ole Miss, and this is one of the wise and real smart moves that both of these universities have made in a football sense in recent years is to sign a contract with ESPN and to set this up as the game, the only college football game, the national TV game on ESPN for about the past close to 10 years. It's been something in that range that Ole Miss and Mississippi State have owned Thanksgiving night for college football. Of course, the NFL owns Thanksgiving. It's not even close. And what a finish. I wasn't really locked into this game. I missed the first quarter of the game. I was still at work. Happy Thanksgiving, by the way. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. And we'll get to the live chat room where I can wish everybody happy Thanksgiving. And I hope you had a great day of food and family and football, but most of all, family. Unfortunately, my family a long way away. And I will celebrate Thanksgiving and the holiday weekend with my kids on Friday and Saturday. But hopefully you enjoyed your Thanksgiving. There's much to be thankful for most of us, if not all of us. And Mississippi State fans can tonight thank Elijah Moore for handing them a bowl bid, or at least clinching it. So if you did not see the end of the game, back and forth game between the Bulldogs and the Rebels, this being the 116th edition of the Egg Bowl. And again, I covered 6 or 7 of these during the Jackie Sherrill, Tommy Tuberville era, 1994 to 2000. Saw some zany games, some important games that meant bowl bids at least, not championships in the SEC, although I did see one Mississippi State team in 1998 defeat Ole Miss in Tommy Tuberville's last game at Ole Miss, and then he was out of town. The players were still taking off their pads in the locker room when Tommy Tuberville headed off to Auburn. I hope I'm saying that not necessarily in a literal sense. Tommy Tuberville and I would not call us friends, but we are strong acquaintances. We follow each other on Twitter and have talked college football and just talked life a number of times. But Tommy Tuberville is a first-class guy and always treated me extremely well. I've got some good stories about Tommy Tuberville and his generosity toward me and my professional career development at the time when I was just a young strapping lad there covering college football and sports in Mississippi. Anyway, Kylan Hill, I don't know if he gained the necessary yardage tonight to become the all-time rushing leader in Mississippi State football history, but he was certainly awful close. John Reese Plumlee had to come into the game. Well, he's been the starter for Ole Miss for quite a few weeks now in taking over for Matt Corral, who then came into the game later and almost led a comeback. But what happened here late in the game, and when I refer to Elijah Moore, Ole Miss's best offensive player, most likely best offensive player, handing the bowl bid to Mississippi State. So we've got a 21-14 game. Ole Miss converted a fourth, and what was the yardage on that play? 4th and 22. Did you see this play? Ole Miss buried in its own end. There's only like a minute left in the game, and the coverage completely focused on the inside receiver. The slot receiver running down the seam. The outside receiver was one-on-one, burned the DB for Mississippi State, caught like a 55 or 60-yard play downfield. On a 4th and 22 with the game on the line, game's going to be over. Mississippi State's going to win the game. Ole Miss converts. And then plays later, they throw the touchdown pass to Elijah Moore with 4 seconds left in the game. 21-14 Mississippi State. Ole Miss scores with 4 seconds left. Elijah Moore with a touchdown reception, make it 21-20. Well, Elijah Moore apparently didn't take the time that he needed to at halftime to use the facilities, and just couldn't hold it anymore. Only had 4 more seconds, but couldn't hold it anymore, and crawling around like a dog in the end zone, lifted his leg, and the officials were not too impressed. Nor was I. That should be called. That's ridiculous. The excessive celebration penalties are flagged way too much in college football. Let the kids celebrate. And of course, it's a judgment call. They've tried to define it, but it's a judgment call. But in this case, Elijah Moore, and he's a young man. Young men make mistakes. Old men, we make mistakes as well. But certainly at that age, we all have done stupid things. And Elijah Moore did a rather stupid one in front of a national TV audience, which basically cost his team the game. And so if you haven't looked it up, look it up. And he faked peeing on the field as a dog, making fun of the Bulldogs, of course. And so they backed up because of the celebration. It was going to be assessed to the kickoff. But I think they learned a few years ago and revised the rule to assess those penalties on the extra point. Backed up the place kicker to a 35-yard extra point. Guess what happened? He missed it. Of course he missed it. So he should share in the blame as well. He should be able to make a 35-yard extra point, but this is a collegiate kicker. Not paid to make 35-yard extra points. He should have been kicking from the, whatever it turns out to be, like an 18-yard. Well, it's like a 20-yard extra point from, where do they kick it? The 2.5-yard line, I believe. So that's a 2.5, 17, 19 or 20-yard on the extra point. That's what he should be kicking from. Thanks to Elijah Moore, he's kicking from 35, and he misses to the right. Mississippi State wins 21-20. I will get to the live chat if you're just jumping online. Thanks for joining us here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. I know this was not scheduled. Thank you so much for being flexible with your schedule and jumping on these notifications last second. I was catching the Ole Miss Mississippi State game after work. Happy Thanksgiving once again. And decided to jump on here live and take your calls at 860-325-3687. But lastly, and concerning the Egg Bowl, one of the great traditions in college football, and we are celebrating Rivalry Week after Thanksgiving, Rivalry Week for College Football Nation. Then Mississippi State defeats Ole Miss to capture a 10th consecutive bowl bid. At 6-6, Ole Miss falls to 4-8. These are two coaches that have been much embattled this season. Matt Luke at Ole Miss, Joe Moorhead coming in from Penn State to Mississippi State to replace Dan Mullen, not coming anywhere close to the standards that Dan Mullen had set in recent years. Okay. But I'll take your calls at 860-325-3687. Otherwise, we are going to prime you for a huge Friday and Saturday in college football. To remind everyone, like the videos, comment here in the live chat, but also comment to the videos. Of course, leave your predictions on the games this weekend and ask your questions, make your recommendations and requests, and I will try to fulfill those here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. If you make a request and I turn down your request, I give a reason why. For example, if you say, can you please preview the Marshall Tulane game. I'm going to let you know that 52 people are going to watch that, and it's just not worth my time. Unfortunately, I would love to preview Marshall and Tulane, for example. I don't know that they're playing this weekend, but those sorts of games, but they just don't bring in the viewership. If you can bring me the viewership for that type of preview, I would be glad to do it. Mark Rogers, TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Hey, Mark, it's McGee's Force 4. How are you doing?
I am doing just fine. I appreciate the call and was not shocked that it was you on the line. You lead us off almost every time.
Yeah, I got to be kind of quiet because I have a few people sleeping down here for Thanksgiving. So I have to be a bit quiet. So sorry if I'm not speaking that loud like usual. But all I got to say is, what a hell of a game to start Rivalry Week.
Yes.
I mean, I'm happy because I picked Ole Miss plus 2.5. They covered. And, I mean, what a hell of a game. I mean, I watched the whole thing because I watch all the football games today, NFL and this college football game. And, man, what a hell of a game. I mean, I don't care about the kid committing that penalty. It should have been flagged. I was a bit confused about that whole ending anyways because I thought that because I thought it was going to be on the kickoff, but in college football it is on the extra points, so that's why I was confused about that. So silly me, but I mean that was a hell of a game right there. I mean that 4th and 24 throw right there. I mean that throw was on the money.
Yeah, it was a great play. It was a great play. Exciting to see a team that shouldn't be able to convert in that situation. Probably have, if you run that play 100 times, how many times do you convert in that situation? Maybe 5 to 8 times. You get about a 5% chance of converting in that situation, especially since the defense knows exactly what to do in coverage. But the safeties all crowded to the middle and took the slot guy and left the outside guy who burned his single coverage situation. And that set up the dramatic finish. What I found interesting in this, McD, is, of course, the two coaches in the game are two of the coaches that you served up to me the other night as two of the coaches on the hot seat.
Mm-hmm. Correct. I think it saves Matt Luke's, not Matt Luke's, Joe Moorhead's job, at least for this season. I think, since they got the win. Matt Luke, I still think he should be the head coach. I mean, you brought up a good point that I was not aware of. Last time we talked about how Matt Luke and the Ole Miss Rebels are in some close games against Auburn and Texas A&M, and Cal should have been a win. So this could very easily.
They only lost to Memphis by 5. Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, I think he should get another chance, but because I thought he coached a good game tonight. I mean, at the end, it's just that one of the college athletes or student athletes made an honest mistake and cost them the game, basically. And by the way, I thought that whole extra point was rushed. I thought it might even been Ole Miss's best interest to just take the time, because I felt like they just ran on the field and kicked it. So that's why it just felt rushed. It might have been because of the broadcast showing replays of it, but it just felt rushed.
Well, there was no reason for them to be rushed to kick the extra point.
There isn't no reason. It just felt rushed. So
I can't say that I noticed the rushed extra point. I don't know.
It might have been because of how the broadcast is showing all the replays.
Yeah.
And then once they went back to the field, they were already snapping the ball, so that's why it felt rushed.
Yeah, in that situation, with when the clock is no factor, the officials are controlling the pace of the game, so they set it up for the extra point and so forth. Obviously, there's a play clock. Is there a play clock? Yeah, they can obviously, just like any other play, there can be a play clock violation, but that shouldn't be an issue in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, it just felt rushed when I was watching it. So, but the other reason I'm calling you, Mark, is because supposedly it's going to be snowing in some of these big games like Wisconsin, Minnesota. Some people are saying it's snowing in Ohio State, Michigan on Saturday. I'm seeing just rain, but we'll see. but the Maryland-Michigan State game is going to be snowing supposedly.
So
we'll
you
see what happens.
so you said some of the big games, and then you mentioned Maryland and Michigan State.
Maryland's always a big game.
Okay. In some households.
Yeah, some households.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know the game is supposed to be snowing, even though I'm seeing rain. But we'll see what happens. But I love watching games in the snow. Tomorrow, the Boise State Colorado State game is supposed to be snowing as well. I know that's not a big game, but I just love watching games in the snow.
It depends how you define a big game. It could be a big game in regards to the New Year's Six bid for the group of 5.
I think Boise State's going to go in there and beat them.
Well, I think they are too. They should. They're 2-touchdown favorites, and Colorado State's not good. But I'm just saying that is a big game for a New Year's Six bid.
True. I think Boise State's the best group of 5 teams. So.
I know you do.
Yeah, we went through that avenue a few times, but I mean, I just want to call up here. Do you think that Auburn has a shot to pull off the upset against Alabama?
Absolutely, I do. They're playing at home. They've got a tremendous defensive front. They've got an athletic quarterback. Yeah, they've got a talented wide receiver core. They've got more than a shot. They're only a 3.5-point underdog at home.
Here's the thing. I don't give them much of a shot.
No?
I do not like. I think this Auburn offense it's not a good offense. I think the defense will keep them in the game as much as possible. But I think it's just going to wear out in the fourth quarter. That's why I just don't give it much of a shot.
I think we've got an inexperienced quarterback at Alabama who's pretty talented, but has yet to show us much of anything, playing the best defense that he's seen in the most hostile environment that he's seen, playing a really good Auburn team. I do not think that Auburn is as good as Alabama. That's not what I'm saying. I think if these teams play 100 times, I don't think they're going to get a chance to play 100 times. But if they would play 100 times, I think Alabama wins 70 times. So that's certainly a reasonable upset bid for Auburn. Again, especially considering their defensive front. But their defensive front is going to have to be devastating in this game because I give Alabama's wide receivers a huge advantage over Auburn's secondary. That's an issue.
That is an issue. Sometimes those crossing routes are just impossible to stop.
Consider that Auburn went to Death Valley, only lost by 3.
That is true. That was impressive, in my opinion. I will give Auburn that. But I just don't have – I'm going to be honest with you, Mark. I don't have faith in Auburn. I don't have faith in Michigan this Saturday. I mean, I think 2 of these big games, Michigan and Auburn, especially Michigan, I just don't have much faith in them. I think Michigan's going to lose by at least 2 touchdowns by a minimum.
Yeah, I don't. I shouldn't give away my predictions, but I don't. I did give a small consideration to predicting Michigan to win, but I just think Ohio State is just too freaking talented for them. I think Michigan's going to show up and show out. I think they're going to play extremely well. I don't think they're going to cave in and implode like we saw last season. I think they have nothing to lose. They're playing at home. They're playing with confidence in recent weeks. They have found something on offense that works. But Ohio State is just too loaded and too talented. But I am concerned with Ohio State getting behind. They haven't had to play from behind this season in a critical situation at all. Justin Fields is a little banged up and beat up. They certainly tried to protect him against Penn State in the second half in regards to play calling. And J.K. Dobbins carried the ball 36 times last week. They might be a little bit worn down after playing Penn State in a tough game, a game in which they clearly were decidedly better than Penn State, but because of the turnovers, late third quarter, early fourth quarter, it was a game that took them until about 5 minutes left in the game to salt away. So it was a hotly contested game in which they couldn't rest people. And Michigan had a more comfortable win than most of us predicted last week against Indiana, scoring the last 32 points and winning by 25.
That is true. That Indiana game did surprise me a little bit. I thought it was going to be much closer. I picked Indiana on the upset, actually, but it didn't go my way. But that game was a bit eye-opening to me, I would say, because I thought that game was going to be much closer. But I know the game's in Ann Arbor, and even if it does snow, because some people think it's going to snow for some, even though they're calling for rain, I think I really think that Ohio State's going to go in there and beat them. I have a 31-14 Ohio State. I just think it's going to be a pretty much a not that much of a competitive game. I just don't have no faith in Michigan. Another game that I want to just get your quick thought on is the Belmont Bowl in Oklahoma State. I have Oklahoma State in the upset. What do you think about that game?
Well, I've got my predictions available for everyone. And I was 11-6 against the spread last week and 57% for the season. So got my predictions available, and I have cut loose on a few major upsets this week.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take a look at those predictions through the text app that you have.
So I certainly think you're on to something there. In Stillwater, we know what happened last year between those two teams. Yeah. We know what's happened with Oklahoma in the last month to 6 weeks. They haven't looked that great. Of course, the loss to Kansas State. Iowa State, 2-point conversion. Otherwise, they would have lost that game, 42-41. This last weekend against TCU, who's lost 6 games, only a 28-24 game. Oklahoma's not playing well.
They're not. I agree, but basically, I mean, I just want to be upset. I like Mike Gundy. I think he's a hell of a coach. I don't understand why teams are at least try not rearing him for these bigger jobs at like a Florida State, or if Michigan fires their coach after this Saturday, that job. But I really think that that's going to be an upset. And I just have one more game that I want to get your thoughts on. The game up in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Minnesota. You think that's a 50-50 game, or do you think that game's favoring one team?
I think you brought up weather to start the call. I think weather is going to factor into that game in regards to who it favors. Minnesota needs to throw the ball successfully, more so than Wisconsin does. Minnesota has gained most of its most productive plays on offense in the recent games against the better teams throwing the ball, even though they've got 3 capable running backs, Rodney Smith, Ibrahim, and Shannon Brooks. Opposing teams, Penn State, the better teams that they've played recently, Penn State, even Northwestern last week, a few weeks prior to that, some of the teams that they played recently have locked down on the rushing game, have caused Tanner Morgan to have to throw it. He's responded. But in this kind of weather that's being expected, they're going to have to throw the ball more so than Wisconsin. And so that could be to their detriment. We'll see what the weather looks like. Sometimes the weather actually, there's a game that comes to mind in the NFL where the Patriots beat the Titans 59-0 in one of the worst.
Don't bring that up.
What, you're a Titans fan?
I'm a Titans fan. Yeah, I'm a Titans fan. Don't bring that up.
You live in Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
You live in Maryland. You're a Titans fan. Okay, I won't go to the connection there, but I did bring the game up, and I'm just saying they threw the ball all over the place. Sometimes
they did throw the ball well.
It has more to do with wind. It has more to do with wind and severe cold than it does, where the football is almost like a brick. But it's not going to be that cold. It's not going to be 0. It's going to be in the 20s or in the 30s. And as long as the precipitation is kind of under control and there's little wind, sometimes that favors the passing game and the offense because they know where the plays are designed to run.
That is true. That is true. Mark, that's all I really have. I'm not going to waste any more time, but thanks for taking my call. Happy Thanksgiving, and go Terps.
All right, McD, thank you so much. Enjoy the football. Our man McD, that guy jumps on the line before everybody else. He has staked his claim in recent weeks. Never used to be that way, but McD stepping up. 52 on the line. Thank you so much for joining our little impromptu live stream. So it's my goal and my objective in the off season to figure out what my schedule is going to be so I can schedule these live streams each and every week and provide a schedule for all of you. I appreciate all the encouragement on the comments. Everyone fired up for their various rivalries. Eli had just commented on Virginia Tech, a huge one in the ACC tomorrow at noon. I believe that's an ABC game at noon tomorrow. Of course, Virginia Tech has won 15 consecutive games. Virginia was the media selection and my selection to win the ACC Coastal this year. And it's a winner-take-all situation. Who would have thought that? Because it's been a muddled mess in the Coastal Division as expected this season. All sorts of scenarios playing down to the final week of the season until the way things played out with Virginia Tech besting Pitt head-to-head 28-0. The Hokies have come out of nowhere. One of the more disappointing big-name, high-expectation programs just faltering last year and early this season with some of the deplorable losses they've taken, not just in regards to whom they've lost to, but by how many points, and the most recent being Duke. I cut a video just minutes after they lost to Duke, 8 weeks ago, 45-10 to Duke, 4-7 Duke, 45-10. And I laid out the situation at Virginia Tech. Frank Beamer's run, his run coming to a halt late in his career, in which he went from being a top 10 or 15 program to where they had become a lot of 7 and 8 win teams. His winning percentage over his final 6 or 7 seasons was only about 55%. Justin Fuente gets the job. I thought he was the right guy for the job, thought he would do a tremendous job there in Blacksburg, and he did early on for the first 2 seasons plus. And then they played like garbage during 2018, early 2019. And then suddenly, boom, I think they caught a break in the schedule. Their non-conference schedule outside of Notre Dame was deplorable, awful, easy. 3 give-me wins. Furman, Old Dominion, probably East Carolina was the other game. But they played well at Notre Dame. Should have won that game, 21-20 game. They have played very well. But again, ACC Coastal Division. Once these teams started playing each other, of course, somebody's got to win the games. They lost all the games against the decent teams outside the conference and in the other division. But once they started to play each other, Virginia Tech has stepped up. They're 8-3. Virginia 8-3 as well. And we've got a situation in which the winner takes it all. The game in Charlottesville, Cavaliers have lost 15 straight in the series. You can find my prediction at the Voice of College Football Community. The link is in the description section of any of the videos. 11-6 against the spread last week, 57% against the spread. And that's not the big selling point for our Patreon community there. That is not the big selling point. I'm not an expert in odds maker selections. I'm not an odds maker, I should say. I'm not a handicapper, but I have fun predicting the games, and I do it pretty well. Better than most, by far. Better than some guys I see online that are charging all sorts of money for their predictions. 57% against the spread will make you money. And if I put any time into it, I could get into the 60-plus percentile. I'm pretty confident of that. So you get my predictions, but they're right off the cuff. They're right off the top of my head. I look up a few things. Boom. Those predictions are done within 10 or 15 minutes. There they are. But 11-6 against the spread last week. 21-1 straight up against the money line last week, hitting 77% money line. But in addition to that, that's not the real sales point to the college football, Voice of College Football. I'm having issues talking tonight. I'm like 3 words behind. Voice of College Football Community link. That is not the selling point. The selling point is that we're building a community there. And my offer to you, because it was requested by you, about 25 of you requested that I make a live stream available each and every week, an exclusive live stream. And so if you're on there right now as a Patreon member, Voice of College Football Community, you may ask, well, I haven't seen the exclusive live stream in a long time. That's because it's per request. I'm not just doing a live stream just to waste an hour of my time. The live streams there at Patreon are exclusive and they're per request. So I will do one per week per request. We've done 8 thus far, and we bring you on. So it's not just a typical live stream like we do that you can find here on our channel. We bring you on to do the live stream with me and talk college football. Ask me questions, do whatever you want. Grill me, make fun of me, do whatever you like. All right, let's check out the live chat and remind everyone, let me back this up, that our number is 860-325-3687. We've seen that comment. We got Matt Corral comment from Cool Hive. Redshirt freshman Plumlee may not be starter next year. Sure wish he had stayed committed to Georgia. The kid's fast, boy. He is fast. Did he get hurt? Is that why they pulled Plumlee? I did not see that portion of the game. All right. Calls coming in on this rivalry week. Hey, it's Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Hi, it's Comic 245. How are you doing today?
I am doing just fine. What's going on?
Not much. Just like to call in to give in my thoughts about tonight's game between Ole Miss and Mississippi State.
Yeah.
It was an exciting game, but it's just one of the dumbest ways to end. It was just hilarious.
Do you root for anyone in particular?
Yes, I am a Rutgers fan.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Hello?
I was just apologizing. I was saying I was sorry that you're a Rutgers fan.
Oh, don't be.
But anyway, back to the I was just asking that question because I thought you had a rooting interest in this game.
No, I didn't. I just was hoping for a good game.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts about the conclusion of the game?
Well, like I said, it was a dumb way to end. You could say they pissed it away.
You could say that. I'm sure it's been said many times.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Of I kind of cringed at that. Why? But man, karma is the B word.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I feel I was kind of hoping Ole Miss would come back in crunch time, and they did make the touchdowns. I'm okay, cool, but then not much else to be said after that.
Yeah, they missed an extra point. They had a penalty that the kid made a stupid mistake, and he will hopefully learn from that. And there you go.
Yep. Oh. Yeah. That's all I can really say about that. As for Saturday's game, I see some good ones. I do like Ohio State over Michigan, for example, but I do kind of want Michigan to snap the losing streak, make things a little interesting.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
And yeah, and okay, Minnesota, Wisconsin. I like Minnesota in this one because they're at home, but and Minnesota destroyed Wisconsin last year. And Minnesota's better, but so is Wisconsin. The question is, by how much did the teams improve? That's something fun to look for.
Yeah, if I could only watch one game tomorrow, take away my fandom, I would have to go the Minnesota-Wisconsin route.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see that one.
Yeah. That game will probably prevent me from torturing my eyes watching Rutgers Penn State.
Yeah, it's been a rough go
Yeah,
for
so
you.
Yeah. And also we're watching our coaching hire, as you probably heard,
Mm-hmm.
or if you care.
I have to
Yeah.
care. That's part of the deal.
Okay. Yeah, well, I guess I can give you my thoughts. I was initially against Schiano for football reasons, like could he be a good long-term option, but after the fiasco, I'm like, screw it, I'm all in.
So you like Schiano coming back? Well, he's been the only guy that in recent times has won there.
True. Like, I thought about maybe giving Nunzio Campanelli, our interim coach, a shot, but that doesn't seem to be happening. But definitely keep him on staff. He's earned it.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll probably release a video on my channel, like maybe my reaction. Yes, and yes, I do make videos. So,
Where can we find your channel?
Well, you can tap my icon in the live chat if you want.
Okay.
Hashtag shameless self-promo.
Okay. We will encourage folks to go over there if they'd like to check out your videos.
Yep.
Well,
I think that's it for me. Have a nice rest of your Thanksgiving.
Thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving. All right. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Thought I'd jump on here after the big Ole Miss loss in the Egg Bowl. Mississippi State gains their 10th consecutive bowl appearance. Some folks in the live chat like Nebraska pulling off the upset. Anthony, JCP. So I was asked the other night in a phone call during the call-in show by McD to run through the various jobs in which he thought there could be a coaching change. And we're typically switching out about, I think, about 12 jobs per year seems to be the number that we typically see. And there seem to be a lot of situations around college football in which it's not a clear-cut decision, but it's also certainly a decision that could be made. For example, in the Pac-12, Clay Helton, of course, could be gone. Kevin Sumlin, Arizona, second straight season without a bowl appearance, could be gone. Then we also have other elevations that would cause other coaches to be moving on, that would cause vacancies, whether that be a Matt Campbell moving on, Lincoln Riley moving on, Jason Garrett lost again for the Dallas Cowboys today. Maybe it's Jerry Jones' time to finally look for another head coach. So not just coaches getting fired, but coaches moving on to better positions, whether that be in college football at a higher level of school or moving on to the NFL, then creates more vacancies. So we will have quite a few vacancies. And so what other coaching changes do you see coming? So these are typically better questions for guys that cover these specific programs day in, day out. Because what I look at is I look at the expectations for that particular school. I look at the talent on the roster. I look at whether that coach is achieving, underachieving, and how long that has been the case in which he's underachieving. And if it's reasonable to determine whether, based on his track record and what he's shown us, that he still should be given more time or not. So I see it from that vantage point. I don't know what the money involved is. I don't know what the contract status is. So I don't know what type of relationship that particular coach has with the AD and with the administration, which is key. So there are a lot of other factors involved. I would not have guessed that Willie Taggart, for example, weeks before it happened, would have been fired by Florida State, because I was not aware until days before, when people started to get in my ear about the money that was being raised by the boosters to get him out of there. I thought Florida State, despite that being a prestigious job where they can't put up with losing too long, that they would stand the 2 losing seasons, go into a third, and then he would really be on the hot seat for 2020. But boosters raised the money to get him out of there. So that has much to do with it. It's beyond just the evaluation of the expectations versus the job performance. So that's what I can weigh, but I don't know the relationships involved, and I don't know what kind of money it takes to get a particular coach out, to buy out the contract. But in regards to the one, the coaches that are on the hot seat per conference, Michigan State, Mark D'Antonio, despite all that he's done for that football program in elevating it from mediocre to top 5 to 10 in the nation for a 5 to 6 year run, they have now underachieved, and with all, not just on the field disappointment, but all the less than sterling conduct that's been associated with the athletic program and his attachment to that, Michigan State officials may be thinking it's time for a change and a new look to the program. They did have a decent season 2 years ago, 10-3, but they underachieved badly this year. They underachieved last year. They had a horrible 2016 at 3-9, and the recruiting has not been good the past few off seasons, with all of this controversy circling the athletic program and some of the beyond controversy, the actual mess that's there and has been going on there that has some level of connection to football. Lovie Smith has saved his job with a 6-4 performance at Illinois. Coming into the season, he was certainly on the hot seat and being talked about. Pat Fitzgerald would be safe at Northwestern. This is their first bad season in a long, long time under him. So really the Big Ten situation outside of Rutgers and outside of, I got to think at Maryland, Mike Locksley in his first season, despite how bad they've been, that they're going to give him another season. I've stated on here many times and stated it right after he was hired. I would have never touched Mike Locksley. I didn't see any redeeming qualities, anything that he had accomplished, anything that he ever displayed that was that impressive to get a job in the Big Ten as a head coach. I never saw that out of Mike Locksley. All he's done is lose and have off the field issues and bizarre issues. And he ran the offense at Alabama after Lane Kiffin, and just as successful as Lane Kiffin had. Maybe introduced a few different concepts, but nothing extraordinary there. So I didn't understand the Mike Locksley hire. I believe Maryland could have done much better. I know he has ties to the program. But right now in the Big Ten, it's about Mark D'Antonio first and foremost, and also the Rutgers situation and replacing Chris Ash, who was fired about a month ago. In the ACC, who's on the hot seat? Manny Diaz should be fine despite a disappointment of a season. And obviously a lot of new coaches in the ACC from last season. Scott Satterfield taking over at Louisville, Mac Brown at North Carolina, Jeff Collins at Georgia Tech. So they're all fine. Justin Fuente has saved his job in recent weeks. Bronco Mendenhall is doing a tremendous job at Virginia. There is talk that Steve Addazio is in trouble at Boston College. I would think not. Again, for any coach who has established a certain level of equity at a school, unless there are off the field issues, one bad season at Boston College is not going to get him out of that job. I can't imagine, unless Boston College somehow thinks that they can do better than Steve Addazio going 7-5 almost every season there. So in the ACC, obviously, Willie Taggart's going to be replaced. Odell Higgins will make his bid tomorrow against Florida, or Saturday against Florida, and then in a bowl game. And Dave Doran, there's been some rumblings that maybe they're dissatisfied with Dave Doran at North Carolina State. But again, it's one bad season. So really, we have Mark D'Antonio, and we've got the Willie Taggart replacement at Florida State, the Chris Ash replacement at Rutgers. In the SEC, most of those coaching changes have come again in the last couple seasons. Barry Odom is being talked about as a possible replacement after a disappointing season at Missouri. But again, it's only been one. Most of the ones that we reviewed the other night, Anthony, and I know this is a long, long answer to a short question. We reviewed this the other night, and most of the ones that I could come up with, they're coaches who have had one bad season after basically meeting or exceeding expectations. But again, elevations from other places like the NFL or higher ranked college jobs causing coaches to leave could open up spots. But we're always going to have firings. And so I would expect anywhere from 8 to 12 out of the 130 FBS jobs to be open. All the Big 12 coaches are safe. All the Big 12 coaches are safe unless, again, a Matt Campbell moves on. Can't think of a situation in the Big 12 in which anyone's underachieving. Gary Patterson is a tremendous coach. He's had a bad season. He's had a bad 2 seasons, but he's fine. He's going to be at TCU. All right. All right, we've got a 3-pack from Nitty Rolak. Virginia on the money line, Nebraska on the money line, and Washington State plus the 7.5. I believe Nebraska is about a 5.5 point underdog, but Nitty likes them straight up at home, likes Virginia straight up at home as a 3-point dog, and Washington State with the points. Washington State always loses to Washington. We'll see if Mike Leach has an answer this time around. Mark, do you see Lincoln Riley taking the Cowboys job? If so, who replaces him? So, Anthony, here's the deal. Everybody asks questions concerning coaches moving on. We can only speculate what coaches are thinking and what their motivations are unless they've voiced them in the past. Unless Lincoln Riley has verbalized in the past that he wants to be an NFL head coach, and I'm not aware of that, I don't know. Of course, the Dallas Cowboys job, some people would consider that to be the top job or one of a handful of top jobs in all of football. They haven't won anything in 22 years. 1995 Super Bowl, 96 Super Bowl. But it's just a prestigious job. There's a lot of attention given to it. It's still America's team. I think not at this point, but it's still given a lot of attention to be the Cowboys coach. And so that is a certain level of temptation or allure that other NFL jobs, let's say in Cincinnati or Jacksonville or Buffalo, would not have. But I don't know that Lincoln Riley has ever stated that he would be interested in the Cowboys job. Urban Meyer was asked by Colin Cowherd about a month ago whether he would be interested, and he actually wavered a little bit and said, yeah, that's a job you have to listen. You have to at least listen to the offer. So that was interesting. So if Lincoln Riley would take the Cowboys job, who replaces him? If Bob Stoops in any way is considering going to Florida State, maybe he comes back to Oklahoma. Maybe Matt Campbell goes to Oklahoma. Maybe James Franklin would be considered by Oklahoma. Those are the first names for me that come to mind off the top of my head. Mark, Utah or Oregon? So in the preseason, my preseason prediction was Oregon over Utah in the Pac-12 championship game. So I've got to stay with that. I will stay with that. I could change my mind before the game, but I'm not going to make a prediction until they actually, it's actually game week. Our number, comic dude, 860-325-3687. And I apologize that I can't keep that number up and run your comments at the same time. But there it is, 860-325-3687. Steve checking out the forecast for us, 32 to 34 at game time for Ohio State and Michigan. So the temperature is not necessarily in question here, Steve. It's wind and it's precipitation. Most disappointing teams. That sounds like a video postseason. That sounds like an off season about a week after the season's over video, Eli. Most disappointing teams of 2019 and also the biggest surprises of 2019. Iron Cross. Nobody cares about Virginia Tech. For some reason, there's going to be a few million people watching that game tomorrow. Maybe it's a situation in which they're eating leftovers. They pass out on the couch and the TV's just on. And so Virginia Tech and ABC benefit from the TV rating of just a random channel being on Iron Cross. Nobody cares. Got our Michigan State fan right here. Phaeton? Is that pronounced correctly? Welcome to Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. I see that you root for Michigan State. Would love to know how long you've been watching the voice of college football. Watching Ohio State, Michigan before you've got to take in that Michigan State game. As a Michigan State fan, you are obligated to watch Michigan State in Maryland. My condolences to you. Nitty likes the U. Thank you. More questions about Lincoln Riley. It's the same question. Thanks, Anthony. Appreciate it. Nitty is a sports guru. That's impressive. That's impressive. Respect to you, Nitty, as a sports guru. I would love to see where this is displayed and how this is measured, your sports guru-ness. All right. Fields, healthy or not, isn't torching Michigan's defense. Tom, did you make similar comments this time last year? Like 2 days before the Ohio State-Michigan game in regards to Dwayne Haskins? I'm just asking. I don't know. J Jobs, I think he copies and pastes this comment, and J Jobs, you are welcome to do that each and every time. And I believe J Jobs also copies and pastes this, and it's apropos because it needs to be done. So the deal here at YouTube, as I understand it, is that likes drive these videos to a certain extent. Of course, the views do as well. YouTube is not going to take a video that has 75 views and put it in the suggested video. So people have to watch the video for it to gain momentum and get churned out by YouTube. But at the same time, also the likes. They respond to the likes apparently in the algorithm used by YouTube. So please like the videos. I would even ask some of you that are highly invested in the channel, watch me on a regular basis and support me. Take 3 minutes after we're off here or even right now and just go through and just like videos. And this is not for my ego. I personally don't care if 172 people like a video or 12 people like the video. It makes no difference to me. But it makes a difference to me because, as I understand it, it means a whole lot in the YouTube algorithm. And what we are doing here is building a college football channel that I want to see succeed because I love talking about college football and I love talking college football with you. And unfortunately, if this doesn't succeed, then I'm going to have to stop talking college football or talk about it like once a week and not like 131. I just counted this last night because I wanted to see how many views I averaged per video, which the count for October was 2,880 views per video. That was the average video in October. So I wanted to see how many I produced in October. How many videos? I should take a poll. I'm going to take a count right now, and hopefully I can catch up to this in the live chat. Guess how many videos I posted in October. Take a guess. And J Jobs, thank you so much for encouraging everyone to like the video. Cheryl being asked if she's married. Leave Cheryl alone. Be kind to Cheryl. One of my main supporters right there, NCIS Fanatic 21, Ohio State 34-17 on Saturday. There we got Breeze just joined. We already talked about how Ole Miss lost. All right. I need a shave. A lot of people like this. Iron Cross? No? You don't like that? There's one particular person in my life that wants a smooth face. But other than that, it appears as though most people like this look right here, and it's easy. It's obviously easy. I just let it go, and then I start to get sick of it, and then I just kind of trim it down. There it is. We've answered the Utah-Oregon question. I think only 2 people answered my question about how many videos I produced and posted. I think that's what that is in response to Ohio State fan OHIO and to Iron Cross, who have guessed 62 and 42 videos in October. Does anybody else have a guess? Eli looking for a college basketball analyst like Mark Rogers. So Eli, from 19, man, I'm gonna give my age away right here to a certain extent. From 1991 to 2000, so I was a sportscaster on television at that point, and I covered college basketball. Just like I was not an analyst, so I didn't do this, but I covered college basketball in the SEC in particular. So I had to follow college basketball, and it was, when I say I had to, it was my pleasure. So Eli, you'll relate to this and remember this play that Bryce Drew shot for Valpo against Ole Miss, the one that they show every March, the buzzer beater in 1998. I was sitting on press row, just right behind the bench. You can't see me, though, because I was watching the play, and he was on this baseline right there. So the camera shot is on my side. That might be the most famous sporting event or famous play I've ever seen in person that I can think of, would be the Bryce Drew shot. So I had a quick run at the NCAA tournament that year. I only covered the one game after I covered the SEC tournament, one game, and then we went home. I did go to the Final Four in 1996 following Mississippi State. Videos. There's a guess of 42 in October. One more time. Do we have anybody else who's going to guess how many videos I posted? Eli, 69. Jesse Sullivan getting warmer at 120. J Jobs, good guess. Pinero 5 Piru. I should probably make this a contest, and actually, before I give it away here, Taylor at 250. Think about how many days there are in the month. 30. That would be like 8 videos per day. That's pretty aggressive. All right, man. I think I need to figure out what should I give away for this. Let's not get too rich for me here. What should I give away? Let's keep in mind that these phone calls cost me money. Let's keep that in mind. You should give it to the super chat just because of that. But anyway, because there's one person in particular who has made a very accurate guess, and I've yet to show their response. Cheryl's at 100. That's a pretty even guess. David, really, for as much as you watch me, you think I only posted 50 videos in October? 30 days, 50 videos. Nitty, well done. Nitty at 137. I'm holding out. We've had about 15 guesses. I got to think, what am I going to give this person? Because this person, what I'm going to post here very soon, is a shout out to all the people that for various contributions. So the first one would be the super chat. I have, unfortunately, and I hope some of you hear me. Ooh, we've got somebody else that's very close. For those of you that are listening to me on a regular basis, I hope that I've not offended anyone for not recognizing a few people that have given to the super chat, because I just missed your super chat contribution. I didn't miss it. I received it, but I didn't see it. So I'm going to post a video when it's a good spot, obviously rivalry week, not a good time, that I'm going to say, hey, thank you so much. But I would like to do that on a regular basis, give you some shout outs. Now everybody's kind of locked in on a number, and so everybody's very close. But there's one person that beat everyone to the punch. But these are great guesses. Let me get them up there real quick. Tom at 139. Ohio State fan, Ohio 132. And I'm going to break the tie for one reason here. Cheryl says 150. But Cheryl, you already guessed. NCIS Fanatic again at 130, and Todd at 177. We've got Poker John. I shouldn't have said that somebody was close because you guys narrowed in on this. Good old Sparty. For those of you that I've not welcomed to Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, like Poker John, I've never seen your handle before. Nitty Rollick, just in recent days have I seen your Todd B, you've been commenting a ton over the last maybe month or two, but before that, I'm guessing that you just found us. William Jordan as well. This is what I've got to say. And anybody else that I've just not welcomed to the channel. Welcome to Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Thank you so much for joining. You cannot imagine how much I appreciate you joining what we do here. We love college football, don't we? So my aim is to provide the best in discussion, debate, and analysis each and every day. So thank you for the contribution and just subscribing, joining, commenting, delivering engagement to the live chat and the other comment section. So thank you so much. I always want to know who you root for. And good old Sparty, I think I got it, so you don't need to respond. Who you root for and how long you've been watching. And great guesses by everyone, but I've got to give the prize to. And what should I give this person? What should I? And no, it's not going to be an autographed Archie Griffin jersey, because I know that this particular person would love that. But there's your winner. So it would be between NCIS Fanatic 21 and another Ohio State fan, Ohio State fan OHIO at 132, because the answer is 131 videos posted in October. But NCIS Fanatic 21 kind of led everyone in that direction. So maybe I will give anyone an exclusive live stream, because that's the deal over on Patreon. You sign up. It's okay. I'm going to make a sales point just this one time, or maybe I'll do it again, but this will be the first time. If you go to Patreon, and I've got the link in the description section of any of the videos, and I know that, man, I hate being a salesman because that just is not my style, but for $5 a month, most of you throw me $5 here, $5 a month. What we do there is you get my predictions, which I'm not saying are great, fabulous. I'm not a handicapper, but you got to pay a handicapper or odds maker. Have you gone to any of these betting websites? You got to pay them like $1,000 for a football season. So anyway, you get my picks, but they're basically for fun, but they are good picks. 57% against the spread. I'm usually more like 60% against the spread. If you know anything about it, you know that's really good. Jesse, good job, 120 when I first asked. So 57% to 60% against the spread is really good, 77% against the money line. But I'm not a professional, so I don't claim to be some professional odds maker, predictor. I'm not Jimmy the Greek, but I do it well. But that's not the main point there. It's that we're building a community, and my offer to you, because I asked all of you, and about 25 of you responded that what you wanted there was an exclusive live stream with you. So what I've offered each week is to bring you guys on. Can you imagine us doing a college football conversation for, let's say, an hour to 90 minutes, where I've got Jay Jobs and he comes on, we bring on Cheryl and Nitty Rollick and Jesse, and you guys jump on, and we just have a roundtable with maybe like 3 of you at a time. We're talking college football. So that is my offer to you over on Patreon, and I'm done. So just consider it, please. And again, I appreciate all the support here. My favorite Thanksgiving dish. I love the stuffing, the sweet potatoes. I love sweet potatoes. I can't eat enough sweet potatoes if they're done right. They got to be real sugary, marshmallow, brown sugar. Love it. Mashed potatoes and gravy, brown gravy. Love it. Again, the stuffing done as long as it's moist. Turkey. If I only have turkey on Thanksgiving, that's enough. That's enough. It's good, but it's fine. But there's a particular dish. So all those are standard answers. There's nothing special to those answers. But there's one particular dish that my mom makes. Unfortunately, I could not have it this year or recently. But it's some kind of cranberry salad in which she takes marshmallows, nuts, cranberries. Trying to think if there's anything else in there. There might be just a bit of mayo to give it some kind of a moist, but anyway, it's tremendous. So that would be my favorite that's off the beaten path. J Jobs, thanks for the question there. All right. I don't think I've missed any college football questions. Sorry for taking everyone off the college football theme with the stupid question about the videos for October. David, thank you. The like button. It's critical. Thank you so much, David. I think what we'll do is we'll go through the schedule for tomorrow and for Saturday. We'll give you a little preview here. I hope you guys have locked in on the video previews that we've submitted for this week. So I've hit the Ohio State, Michigan angle from about, 20 different sides. I think I've posted 4 Ohio State, Michigan previews, all from different angles. We have 2 Minnesota, Wisconsin previews from both sides, previewing the Penn State game and bowl projections for Penn State, Alabama, Auburn from both sides. I wanted to get to Clemson, South Carolina. I guess I may have to tackle that myself. Should I take the time tonight to preview Clemson and South Carolina? I should probably do a little homework on that. We have posted a Bedlam preview, Oklahoma State. Civil War previews out there. Check that out. Oregon State. Who else? Florida State, of course. Guess that's about it. Yeah. Someday when I'm doing this all the time, we will preview every game. Every game. Maybe I might have maybe we'll have a conference channel. We will have a Big Ten channel, an ACC channel, an SEC. That's the way I envision this, to actually be on YouTube, have a website where you can go to the website and you can say, I just want to see all the Penn State videos. Boom. I just want to see all the videos from Steve Dace. I just want to see all the videos from Mark. And we would have it all divided, kind of like in SB Nation, but in video mode. That's the vision. But before we would do that, we would do it here on YouTube. So right now, if you're not aware, I do have a USC channel, an Ohio State channel, a Miami channel. If you have any interest in subscribing over there. All right. Michigan with a 0 chance. A lot of people like Nebraska tomorrow. All right, Todd, I asked the question, so I need to read this. I've been watching since the end of August, just never commented because normally would watch while cooking dinner. Now I watch all the time. Todd, I appreciate it. It's good to see your comments all the time. 65 people on the line right now. We've got 55 on the line. It must be boring people. 29 likes. Come on, people. So Nitty, actually, with 65 people on the line right now, or 55 on the line right now, there's probably been 300 come through here and 29 likes. How does the potential three-way tie in Conference USA West all get sorted out? Eli, you know how much I talk about Conference USA. I have no idea what their particular rules are, but this is way it typically goes. Okay, if there's a three-way tie, if there is one team that beat the other two, and that's rare because then they would have had to lose other games in the division or conference. So that's typically not the case. It's usually A beat B, but B beat C, and then C beat A. So they're all 1-1 against each other. But if there is one team that beat the other two, then they will win the division. Then they go to the division record, which that's typically a tie because there's only so many games that they play within the division. Then they will look at their out-of-division record, add that as common opponents. So they typically have, let's say, if there's Conference USA, 12 teams? 14 teams. Conference USA. 14 teams, I believe. Then you would have, you've got three teams involved, so there's only 4 teams left in that division, and then maybe there might be one common opponent in the other division, so maybe they've got 5. And as the tiebreaker continues, it depends on whether it continues to be a three-way tie. Then the tiebreakers follow a certain flow chart. But then once it becomes a two-way tie, then that would be decided by those two teams and the game that they played, if that makes sense. So you get a three-way tie, you go down a list of tiebreakers, and then once that tie is broken and somebody drops off, then it goes to the two-way tiebreaker system. Or sometimes one team wins that three-way tiebreaker, and then it's over, and they win. That can easily be Googled. But that's typically how those are handled. All right. Oh, somebody's calling in. Let me guess. It's DeAndre. Hey, it's Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line? Hello? Oh, they hung up. What bowl will Florida go to? Being asked by Carson Treese. Carson Treese, welcome to Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. I'm guessing you're a Florida fan. How long have you been watching? I would love to know that. We had David Waters from Gators Breakdown on just the other day. And so there is certainly a possibility that Florida would be selected for either the Cotton Bowl or the Orange Bowl. He would love to see them go to the Orange Bowl and, let's say, play Virginia Tech or Virginia, whoever loses the ACC championship game, or the Cotton Bowl, which may be an appearance by Memphis. As it stands right now, if Memphis wins its game tomorrow against Cincinnati and goes on to win the American Conference as expected. But the Citrus Bowl would come against a Big Ten team, most likely Wisconsin or possibly Michigan. We've seen Florida and Michigan way too many times. So somebody needs to step in. Unlike what happened with the situation last year, and I railed on this, and I will do it again. Why do we have a system in the New Year's Six? It's almost as bad as the playoff selection committee, where Michigan and Florida were selected to play for a third time in 3 years. And then Central Florida was playing LSU, which is fine. It's a decent matchup. It was a decent game. But think of this. People wanted to see Florida and UCF. That would have been a dream matchup. Maybe Florida fans didn't want to see that. Maybe Florida players and maybe just Florida backers didn't want to see that because it was a no-win situation. But Florida and UCF could have played. And Michigan and LSU, whom have never played ever. We've been playing college football for over 100 years, 150 years technically. Michigan and LSU have never played. That would not happen under my system, if you've ever heard my scheduling system, and we will address that in the offseason as well. Jeff Lynn's ELO 2020 tour. 4-star running back Jalen Knighton is committed to Miami. Huge get for Miami and Manny Diaz. Yes, it is. Florida-Memphis would be fun. Yes, Florida may go to the Orange Bowl. A lot of people like Nebraska in the upset tomorrow. All right, let's get to it. Again, I will remind you of who I am. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, best discussion, debate, and analysis. That's our aim. I don't expect that we deliver that each and every day, but we do our best. That's the goal. Best discussion, debate, and analysis from myself, as well as bloggers and broadcasters from around the country. Christmas is coming. Please shop Amazon and do it by grabbing the link in the description section of any of the videos next to the Amazon reference. So I understand this Amazon company is a pretty big deal. That's what I understand. So if you shop Amazon or anybody in the household shops Amazon, please get them the link. It's the same exact shopping experience. Ignore anything that they're pushing to sell because I had to select a product when I became an affiliate. What do they call that? An affiliate account. I had to select a product. So there's some kind of football helmet there. Just go past it. Just use the link and you bring us pennies. But those pennies add up. 16,000 subscribers. If I had 10% of you shop on Amazon, then we could do something. So please shop Amazon for Christmas and use our link. Our call-in number is 860-325-3687, 860-325-3687. If anybody's on the line or has been on the line during this time and has not subscribed, I ask you to watch the videos and make a judgment call. But if you love college football, I would think that you would want to subscribe. Where was I? What happens to Barry Odom if Missouri loses to Arkansas? What is Missouri's record? They've got to be what, 6-5? They go 6-6. I think Barry Odom's safe. I don't think he had anything to do with their issues with the NCAA. So they had one disappointing season. It's tough to win at Missouri in the SEC. They have the worst. They're 5-6. My bad. Matthew, Mark, you need to tighten that wing nut on your mic. You know what? Everything on here, I've played with it. They're all, yeah, I will not explain it here, but I've done that. And for some reason, I even asked somebody that deals with these kind of things. They say they just think it's gravity. You just can't do much there. But yeah, it drives me nuts sometimes. I got to be very cautious with it. I'm checking out these games. Let's go through the schedule. I will be on the live chat at the same time, but I want to go through the schedule, give you my thoughts on the big games starting tomorrow. Jay Jobs, prediction of the crowd size in the big house. It's 112,332. They put in 112,000 plus for these games now at Michigan. Tomorrow for the Coastal Division, Virginia hosting Virginia Tech. The Hokies playing out of their minds in recent weeks. They look dead and gone to me after losing to Duke 45-10. I have not watched a lot of Virginia Tech football this year. Have I watched any Virginia Tech football this year? I watched the Miami game. That's it. And now we are seeing, at the time we thought it was an aberration. We thought it was truly an upset, Miami losing to Virginia Tech, for example. And actually, not really. Virginia Tech is a better team than Miami. All right. Virginia's at home against Virginia Tech. Cavaliers led by Bryce Perkins has lost this 15 consecutive years. I think this is going to be a tremendous game. If I could only watch one game tomorrow, that is certainly going to be the game. And I love, from a tradition standpoint, even though it's not a long tradition, I'm just a Big Ten. I'm ingrained in Big Ten football from my childhood, Iowa and Nebraska. I always watch that game every Friday after Thanksgiving. So despite the underachievement of Scott Frost in Nebraska this year, I will watch that game. So Virginia Tech, and I will try to provide as much instant analysis as possible, although my kids will be around tomorrow, and we'll see what happens. But I will be watching these games, and if nothing else, there will be late night instant analysis. NCIS Fanatic 21. Do you remember the fan video you did once, Mark? I do, with my Buckeyes jersey on. Yeah, people like that. Claremont Hall. Mark, what can we expect the team up north to do offensively? Unfortunately, once I start to read these, then they jump on the scroll. The team up north to do offensively against the Buckeyes. We expect them to... They have found a running game beyond Zach Charbonnet. This Hassan Haskins is impressive. They have one of the better offensive lines, probably the second best line in the Big Ten. They have the second most dynamic wide receiver core in the Big Ten. They have a quarterback playing with confidence who has thrown for over 350 yards in recent weeks against good defenses. We can expect them. Ohio State is the best unit at every level of the defense that Michigan will see this year. Best defensive line. Penn State, Notre Dame, yes, best defensive line, not even close. Best linebackers, maybe not necessarily the best linebackers, but close. And definitely this is the best secondary Michigan will see this season. Michigan is going to have to be awfully balanced. And they are going to do something in this game. And I'm not talking about a trick play. I'm talking about schematically. They are going to do things in this game that we've not seen all season. There are things based on just what this game means and based on Michigan thinking during the offseason this was going to mean a Big Ten championship game appearance, and knowing that they have lost a zillion consecutive games in the series and the heat is on. I guarantee that there are packages in that offense that they have developed and practiced the entire season for this game that we have not seen the entire season. And again, I'm not talking about specific trick plays. I'm not talking about, end arounds and halfback passes, not just that kind of stuff. I'm talking about concepts in the Michigan offense that Ohio State will get hit with in this game. It's going to be a competitive game. As Jay Jobs says here, to counter the Ohio State pass rush, quick, short passes, where even the great Ohio State secondary play is taken out of the equation. And there are mismatches potentially between slot receivers and linebackers and running backs and linebackers. Competitive in the first half, 34-17. How will Justin Fields' health affect the game? So we are understanding that the leg injury that he suffered at the end of the Penn State game is not a factor. He's got a bad hand as well. He's had a lower back issue. He's a little banged up. I don't think there's one specific injury with him. It's just that he's played his first college football. He didn't play at Georgia. He played 5 plays a game. And usually they were inconsequential plays. We've got a Michigan selection by Carson, 35-31. Boy, that's going to be a lot of points to score against Ohio State's defense. Chris asks, do you think Ryan Day is a long-term coach at Ohio State? Will he become an NFL coach? So the difference between Ryan Day in regards to his background and upbringing versus Urban Meyer and Jim Tressel is he's not an Ohio guy or an Ohio State guy. So if he puts on an impressive run at Ohio State, and I'm not talking about for 12 years, I'm talking about for 2 or 3 years, yes, he could move on to the NFL. I don't know if he's a college guy between the ears, like he enjoys this environment. You have pressures and you have responsibility and you have a certain culture in college that is certainly distinct from the NFL. In the NFL, you deal with grown men. You deal with the media on a different level. You deal with the pressure of winning because it's big-time athletics. Certainly, there's pressure at Ohio State to win, of course. But the nightmare that coaches have to deal with collegiately that I would want no part of is keeping track of 105 kids running around town all the time, trying to keep them out of trouble and keep them in class and keep them eligible. And then the recruiting grind that he would not have to deal with at the NFL. Let the GM, the front office deal with that. I coach a football team, and I coach generally adults that have families, that have the mindset that I need this job. This is a job. This is what I do. Now, certainly we see examples all the time of knuckleheads in the NFL. So they do exist there as well. They're just a few years older, but there are less of them. Over under. Chase, how many sacks? Sacks are difficult to get. And I know you're a Michigan fan, and I love you commenting all the time there. Pinero 5 Piru. I believe I pronounced that correctly. You're going with 0. Well, I would go with the over. If 0 is the over, I think the worst I could do is push. Scott Frost is a joke. I think you need to hold off on that, J Jobs. Just hold on. If we're sitting here in 2022, 2021, and he hasn't accomplished anything, then cut loose. Uncle Lou reminding us that LSU is the best Big 12 team I've seen this year. Absolutely. Only beat Texas by a touchdown, though. We will see the offense of the LSU Tigers against that Georgia defense in 1 week, and I can't wait. Thank you, Claron. Only imagine if I had time to prepare anything. If I had like 5 minutes to actually prepare what I was going to say, it all just kind of comes out. I would love to. And when I have these conversations with these guests that you see, man, I would love just to take 5 minutes, 10 minutes just to prepare, just kind of look things over. Okay, I'm talking to the USC guy here in 5 minutes. Let me look up what's going on there. No, it just kind of all spills out. We don't necessarily have that kind of time to prepare, but we'll get there. Yes, number of people commenting in the live chat that Uncle Lou's on the line. I was on Uncle Lou's show this week. I believe that was on, I can't even remember. It's a blur. Was that Monday? So go enjoy that and enjoy Lou's channel there, Uncle Lou. It's entertaining. It's fun. It's informative. He loves college football. He loves his dogs, and he does a great job there. Definitely one of our favorite people, as Anthony says here. All right. I didn't pronounce something correctly. I think that was Piru. Mark, don't you think Ohio State is fresh with how little they played all year? Yes, that's a good point overall, but they got beat up against Penn State. So they did have to play a difficult game before Michigan. Michigan played an easier game than many of us expected them last week. It's probably not a factor, but The 36 carries by JK is an issue on one hand, or could be an issue. I shouldn't say that it is, but I do go back 1 year. J.K. Dobbins carried it 38 times against Maryland. And obviously the Buckeyes had to play that one even more so to the hilt than the Penn State game in overtime against Maryland, and came back and throttled Michigan. All right, folks. Elsewhere on Friday, again, Virginia Tech's my game I got to see. I will watch that one, and I hope to deliver instant analysis on that one. Iowa, Nebraska, Hawkeyes look to go to 9-3. Huskers need to win to get Scott Frost to a bowl game in his second season. Missouri, Arkansas is an awful game. So the SEC a few years ago decided to disband the Arkansas LSU rivalry that was played in this slot, the 2:30 p.m. slot each Friday after Thanksgiving, and to kind of get Missouri into the mix. I think the SEC doing much what the Big Ten is doing in trying to integrate its new members into the culture. So for the first several seasons of Big Ten play, once Rutgers and Maryland joined, the Big Ten made the obvious decision that, well, these two teams are new. Plus, they're in the same portion of the country. They're closely proximated. There's close proximity between these two schools compared to the rest of the conference. Therefore, we can build a rivalry. But I think they determined after a few years, well, the look is not good here because it looks like they're the stepchildren. They play on the last weekend. It's meaningless. They're off in the corner. So we need to integrate them into the rest of the culture of the Big Ten. And so they matched up Maryland and Michigan State of all teams. I guess they had no other choice because everybody else is locked up with a rival. And Penn State and Rutgers, poor Penn State, that's their rivalry game last weekend of the season against Rutgers. And so the SEC has certainly done that as well. So after Missouri and Texas A&M joined, I don't know who Mizzou was playing the final weekend of the season. I don't think it was a particular team, but LSU was continuing to play Arkansas as a rivalry game that's been played by the SEC on the final weekend since 1992 when Arkansas joined. And that was a big deal. And Arkansas used to have a good program, and it was a really good game on that final Friday of the season. But they've tried to, again, integrate Texas A&M and Missouri. So they've made Missouri, Arkansas, which makes a whole lot of sense. They're rivals. They could be rivals, Mizzou and Arkansas, because of the proximity that they should play as a rivalry weekend game, and then Texas A&M and LSU. So it makes total sense. Jay Wade, thank you so much for the contribution. I appreciate that. So you can contribute in a number of ways: like, comment, share the videos out there on social media, and of course, subscribe to Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Jay Wade reminding everyone else that you can contribute right there. And you can join for that same dollar amount. You can go to Patreon, or you can just grab the link in the description section of any of the videos, Voice of College Football Community. Grab that link. You get my predictions and also an exclusive live stream offer each week. Jay, thank you so much for the contribution. We've got 71 on the line to talk college football. Want to remind you that the number is right here. And for as much as I love college football and I don't want the season to end, at least when the season does end, I will focus, hopefully. I kind of promised this last off season, but then I just started doing a bunch of rankings videos and spitting out all the stuff that I do on a daily basis. I will address some of these issues with the production quality, maybe spruce up the set, lighting. The lighting is pretty decent right now, but for some videos, I know it looks awful. I know. And then, of course, we've got to address this and marketing and promotions and all sorts of things. If you know of a company out there that would like to sponsor Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, please let me know. Even whether that's a company that you own, certainly, and can make the decision, or it's a company that you are part of, and you can put me in connection with somebody in particular, or you have a good idea for a type of company or a specific company that I could reach out to become a sponsor. I hear all over YouTube, based on big time YouTubers, I'm talking about people with millions of subscribers, that once you get to 5,000 subscribers, that you should be able to get sponsors. I just don't have the time or the connection to get sponsors. But by the time you get to 5,000 subscribers, that you should reasonably be able to expect to get sponsors. And that's what we need here. So again, 860-325-3687. We'll talk college football rivalry weekend. So again, we've established Virginia Tech is my game on Friday. Nebraska, Iowa, Mizzou, Arkansas. I will have to be desperate and probably won't be because kids will be here. Cincinnati and Memphis. Interesting game out of the group of 5. Boise State, a 2-touchdown favorite at Colorado State. We've got Washington State for one of the few times in recent years means nothing in the Pac-12 North. Of course, Oregon's wrapped up that division a long time ago. App State also in the top 25. No good night games. So all the good games, meaning Virginia Tech, Nebraska, Iowa, Mizzou, Arkansas, not a good game, but big game in terms of SEC teams playing. Memphis, Cincinnati, huge game in the American Conference at 3:30. And then at night, not much of anything. App State's playing. All right, Saturday. Unless you're a Clemson fan or a Georgia fan, South Carolina fan, Georgia Tech fan, you've got another team that you have to watch play. Illinois fan, Northwestern fan at noon Eastern time. Does anybody watch anything but Ohio State and Michigan? Ohio State and Michigan, Saturday, Fox, noon Eastern time. Okay, my second and third sets will be on Clemson, South Carolina until it's 28-0 after the first quarter, and Georgia Tech. And I'll keep Northwestern Illinois in my back pocket along with Indiana Purdue. So because of the teams involved, Clemson and Georgia, those are the games that will be on my second and third screens to start out Saturday, but expecting those to be blowouts soon, early. I'll default to Northwestern Illinois and to Indiana Purdue for the Old Oaken bucket. Then at 3:30 Eastern time, I'm going to have a struggle here between the Iron Bowl, because I'm going to be able to see the better athletes in the bigger rivalry. But the more important game is a game I love to watch even when the teams are down and it doesn't matter. For Paul Bunyan's Axe, Wisconsin, Minnesota. Want to watch that game as well. So those are the two games I will be locked in on. And of course, again, I don't know how many live streams I'm going to do on Saturday. So I've got no promises out there because I've got some family obligations, but I will be doing instant analysis of these games. There will be instant analysis. You can bet on Ohio State, Michigan, and the Iron Bowl and Minnesota, Wisconsin by the end of the day for sure. Those 3 games I have to get to. Oklahoma State that night is huge. That will be the game I'm going to be watching. Although, again, in terms of athletes on the field, LSU, Texas A&M. Want to watch that game. Late night, there's not much of anything. UCLA and Cal. UCLA has to win to go to a bowl game. Yeah. Wait a minute. UCLA can't go to a bowl game, right? They can't go to a bowl game. I believe they're 4-7. Cal. Yeah. Arizona State's on ESPN late night, 10 o'clock. So I'll be watching college football late night, but nothing of note there that really means anything. I cannot see the Florida State game, SEC Network. Florida State fans out there, if you're not aware, we do a Florida State show every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern time. This is odd. ABC is going with Utah and Colorado on Saturday night. 28-point spread in that game. Iowa State, Kansas State playing for nothing of consequence, but that should be an interesting, close game. Notre Dame's been off the radar for quite some time. They play Stanford. That's usually a good game. It's meaningless this year. And, of course, Stanford's down. Oregon State. What a job Jonathan Smith has done. Is anyone aware of this? Oregon State right now is 4-4 in the Pac-12. They are 4-4 in the Pac-12. They are playing for an outright second place finish in the North Division, above Washington, Washington State, Stanford. Oregon State, what a job Jonathan Smith has done there. Miami, will they lose again? They're an 8-point favorite at Duke. That game's on ESPN 2 at 3:30. Any really under the radar? If there was one game in the Power Five or Group of Five that would be torture for me to watch, it would be Penn State and Rutgers. Or maybe it would be amusing. I don't know. But if there's an under the radar game that could be intriguing that I want to see, I would say Illinois and Northwestern. If you consider that under the radar, for some reason, I'd watch that game. And anybody else? Yeah. Maybe I would check out the Maryland game just to see how incredibly inept they are. North Carolina and North Carolina State. What a job Mac Brown has done. The record does not look that impressive, but they have been in every game. So there's your rivalry weekend. And it's interesting to note, oh, man, we could stay up. We could be up until, my goodness, we could be up till about 3:30 in the morning if we want to do live streaming late, early Sunday morning with this one, Army at Hawaii at midnight on CBS Sportsnet. Why don't we just live stream all night? Talk college football all night. And the last game we'll have on is Army and Hawaii, midnight Eastern. Should be over about, only because Army runs the ball all the time. They should get this in about 3 hours and 15 minutes. Christmas is coming, folks. Shop Amazon. Use the link in the description section of any of the videos. There it is. In any of the videos, you can find the link and help us out. Solid Snake, thank you so much for the contribution there. I appreciate that. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. I had a great day, not because I was around family or friends or anything great, but I am thankful. I have so much to be thankful for. I am as healthy as can be, to the extent, and this is not to my credit, that I just was checked out by a doctor, just had all the measurements done, and I'm incredibly in incredible physical condition, despite not sleeping, not eating right, not doing any of the good things that I should be doing. So that's got to be something that I clean up after the holidays. But I thank you so much for that. So I have tremendous friends. My family's awesome. And yes, I am blessed with a good job, and I'm blessed with all that you guys have provided in watching what I try to do here. Solid Snake, thank you. And again, happy Thanksgiving to you and everyone else out there. Hit that like button. Charlie Holly, happy tonight. Hail State, Bulldogs win. Get to a bowl game at 6-6. Illinois is going bowling. Yes, even if they lose this game, they're 6-5. What a job Lovie Smith has done this year. I did not see that coming from Illinois. Matthew, why wouldn't the Bulls just pick the best programs that actually travel to bowls? A 7 or 8 win group of 5 school fans aren't traveling. Well, that's under consideration. They try to pick a combination of best draw to the game and best draw on TV. How often do I do live streams? Anybody that watches on a regular basis can probably answer that question better than I can by just saying, who the hell knows? When do I do live streams? All right. So on most college football Saturdays, Carson, I do them throughout the day, depending on when I'm able to, but I certainly do them late night on Saturday. And my goal and what I promise to do after the season is to determine what I can do and keep to a schedule. So be looking out for that. I'll leave a notification of what the schedule will be for live streams after the national championship game. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Good evening, Mark. 28AD28.
There he is. I haven't heard from you in a long time. How are you?
Yeah, it's been a while. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving to you and yours, sir.
What's on
Mark,
your mind?
just wanted to chime in. I'm sorry?
What's on your mind?
A couple things. First of all, I just wanted to make a comment. Congratulations to you on the channel and the way it's growing. I just remember when I first started calling your channel, when I first started paying attention to it a couple years ago, you were like trying to get to 5,000 subscribers. And this was like right before the 2017 season started. And now you're up to 16 and just seems to be growing and getting better and better all the time. So congratulations on your success, continued success to you.
Well, I appreciate that comment. I don't think people want me to go on and on about my success rate or growth rate. So on one hand, I got to say that I am encouraged because every time I hit a milestone, I determine. So for example, I looked at 15,000 about a month ago because I'm gaining about 1,000 a month. And it took me like 7 years to get to 7,500. And the next 7,500, it only took like 9 or 10 months or 11 months or whatever it was. So the growth is continuing. But on the other hand, man, I've gotten hooked recently on these music reaction videos. And I see these channels,
those are great.
I see these channels pop up and these people have like 40,000 subscribers within a couple months. And I'm like, how do I do that? My goodness gracious. And all they do is sit there and watch a video and ramble on about it.
Maybe in between college football takes, you can react on the music video and get some more subscribers that way.
I'll throw those in there. But anyway, I don't think anybody wants to hear me bellyache about getting subscribers.
And Mark, and I have one question for you too.
Sure.
Want to get your opinion on a couple teams that have underachieved this year and a couple teams that have overachieved, in your opinion. So 2 that have underachieved and 2 that have overachieved. And then for the underachievers, what direction are they going to go in?
Okay.
And for the overachievers, what direction will they go in? Are they going to be able to maintain like a team that goes, like for instance, like a Minnesota?
Yep.
Are they going to be able to maintain this or stay there? Or are they going to fall back to being 7-5 again?
Okay. So do we start with them?
Okay.
All right.
That would be one of your teams that's overachieved?
Oh, I thought you were going to give me the teams.
Oh, no, I wanted you
Okay, I'm going to name the teams. All right, let's go conference by conference. In the Pac-12, is there anyone overachieving? I don't think anybody's overachieved significantly. Oregon State's 4-4, but I don't think that's overachieving. It's not been sustained, and it's really not that great, and they won't make a bowl game, so I'm not going to consider them. Nobody's overachieving that I can see in my eyes in the Pac-12. Underachieving, UCLA continues to underachieve. So they have too much money wrapped up in Chip Kelly, and Chip Kelly is being given a long leash because of his past track record. They've been somewhat improved this year, but so he's certainly not on the hot seat. He's going to be given another season at UCLA. UCLA is not going to go 4-8 and 3-9 forever. I would expect, if I was the administration at UCLA and I'm hiring Chip Kelly, my expectation is that we are consistently vying for a Pac-12 championship game berth every year. Not getting there every year, but we are in contention every year. We're going 8-4, 9-3, 9-3, 8-4, and then we're cycling up to a 10 or 11 win team every 5 years. That should be the standard at UCLA. They have resources. They're in a great location. They play in a weak division. This should be expected. They hired a top coach. That should be the expectation there, and they are miles from that.
Yes, they are.
In the Big 12, Gary Patterson has underachieved the last 2 years, but I think that he is arguably the best coach in the conference still. I just think they haven't found a quarterback, and so they've had issues there, and they've just kind of downcycled. But I think that's temporary. I think they're a 8 or 9 win program and will continue to be, but they've downcycled the last couple of years. Iowa State, we'll see if Matt Campbell moves to another level of college football or to the NFL, whether they are able to hire his replacement, meaning another Matt Campbell, because basically, and I had an argument with somebody the other day about this, is that they were not giving Matt Campbell much due. Iowa State's been a 2 to 4 win program for 50 years. And he has suddenly won 8 games. And beyond just winning the 8 games for now 3 consecutive years, I think they're 7-4 right now. He has been competitive in the losses. They are not losing big to anyone. Even the Oklahoma games and the Texas games are very competitive. Well, they beat Texas a couple of weeks ago, and they took Oklahoma to a 2-point conversion. They are competing with everybody in the Big 12. They are a shade away from seriously contending for that conference. And if Baylor can do it, they can do it. So I'm just curious to see whether sometimes you will see, and I'm trying to think of a good comparison, maybe this isn't the best I could come up with, but Boise State 15 years ago, because once they established how good they could be, and once the initial coach, which was Houston Nutt, who established that, they continued to hire good coaches who kept that level of play. So we'll see if Iowa State's able to do that, because it's a difficult place to recruit to. But Matt Campbell has done a tremendous job. So they're overachieving based on their 50-year history considerably. Elsewhere in the Big 12, I don't think anyone's underachieving or overachieving outside of Texas. So they gave us last year what we would expect them to give us: 10 wins, a major bowl game, and a Big 12 championship game appearance. And now they're back down to losing 5 games this year. So I don't think Tom Herman's in a bad place yet, but I expected more of them this year. I expected them to get back to the conference championship game, and that was my prediction for them. I think they're in a great place in regards to recruiting, so he's recruited well. They did have a series of injuries on defense beyond what most people suffer that contributed to this downfall, but I think it's a temporary downfall. But they've underachieved for 1 season. And of course, as a program, they've underachieved for about 7 years. If you take into account the Charlie Strong era, Texas has been underachieving since like 2011. In the SEC, but I expect Texas to be fine. They're recruiting extremely well. In the SEC, obviously, Tennessee continues to underachieve as a program. They are getting back to a bowl game this year. They should finish 7-5 after they play Vanderbilt. Arkansas is a huge disappointment. They're underachieving. This is a program that for the last 40 or 50 years has been either a national contender or at worst has been a 8-4 type of team for most of these 50 years. And even as recent as 2011 and 12 or 2010 and 11 was winning 10 and 11 games and finishing in the top 5 to 10 in the country. So that's a huge, going to decent bowl games on a regular basis, finishing in the top 25. They're probably the biggest downfall of a program in the last 5 years. Arkansas. So they have to find the right guy. So they're still looking for a coach. But in that division, I think the best that they can hope for is something close to what I explained and outlined with UCLA, but to maybe a lesser degree, where they're winning 7 or 8 games and getting to decent bowl games, and hopefully for them, they're catching that cycle of having their best team on the season in which they play the weaker out of division schedule, in which a couple other teams in their division are down, and maybe they catch a 10-win season every 5 or 6 years. But basically, they're going 8-4. That should be the expectation at Arkansas. And obviously, they're awful right now. Mississippi State's underachieving right now compared to what Dan Mullen had built there. This particular team is not very good. They did become bowl eligible by a miracle tonight. They've been really bad against decent teams. They've been not competitive. Ole Miss is underachieving. Of course, Hugh Freeze left them in a bad place, so we'll see if they can recover. But if you're at Ole Miss or Mississippi State, I think you expect to go 7-5 or 8-4 most seasons, and I think maybe you're in the range of Arkansas because you've got better talent in state than Arkansas, but your expectation should be about similar to what Arkansas would be if you're at Mississippi State or Ole Miss. And that's what it's been for the last 20 or 25 years at those schools. They typically go to bowl games and throw out a lot of 7-5 type seasons. But they're underachieving right now. I guess 2-9 is underachieving for anybody. That's what I think. Vanderbilt beat some group of 5 team last week to go to 3-8. But I don't even know if we can discuss Vanderbilt expectations. I don't even think those two words belong in the same sentence.
Sure.
So we'll toss them to the side. Everyone in the SEC East is pretty much doing what we would expect from the top to the bottom. I don't know if you see anybody else there. Kentucky's fallen off a little bit as expected this year. Missouri's 5-6, but that's not a great shock to anyone. But people did expect them to do a little bit better, but it's not been going on. When you pose that question, I'm thinking about, have there been programs that have been woefully underachieving for 3-4 years, not just one season? Mizzou had a nice season last year, bouncing back, and now just had a bad season. Florida's getting back to where we expect them to be. Georgia's, of course, where they are. In the ACC, obviously, Florida State and Miami aren't where they should be, especially Florida State.
Yeah.
Miami's been down since 2004 or 5, so the aberration that Miami fans might be selling this to be might be a bit overblown because we've been watching this for almost 15 years now. They've had few good teams in those 15 years, so this just might be Miami football. For Florida State, obviously, we expect them to be a top 10 to 15 program in the country, and they're nothing close to that. So they're obviously underachieving, and this will be a third consecutive year for them. And they've got to hire the right guy. And I think that the right guy would be some combination or some selection amongst Matt Campbell, Mike Norvell, and somebody else posed another up-and-coming coach that I really liked. And it wasn't James Franklin. I can't remember who that was. Somebody I thought was a good selection for them.
Matt Rule, I think, is
Matt Rule.
Eventually gonna.
Matt Rule is a tremendous coach. Yes.
And you know what, Mark? I hate the fact that these coaches are all going to. I mean, the Big 12 is my conference, and I'm hating the fact that these coaches are eventually going to bust out. I don't want to lose Matt Campbell, and I don't want to lose Matt Rule. You know, those guys make things competitive. You know, and I like to have a competitive conference. I like to.
Yep.
I'm hoping to earn conference championships as opposed to just sort of sleepwalking boom. You know, it's more entertaining just as a fan too to know that from week to week, man, we better play well. Otherwise, we're going to end up on the griddle.
Yep.
You know, rather than just walk in and say, okay, yeah, we're going to beat these guys by 50 points and we'll have our backups in the second quarter.
Sure.
You know, so yeah. I love you touched on Iowa State, and the last 3 years since Campbell's been there, we've played them 3 times, and the total difference in points is 4. We've outscored them by 4 points over 3 games.
Yeah.
You know, and
sure.
they play us tough. They bring it every year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they play us tough.
Yeah.
And and Matt Rule has really done a wonderful job turning Baylor around too. I think it's pretty incredible. They were 1-11 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, he can coach.
So both those guys, high quality coaches. I'm happy to have them in the conference, and I'm going to be disappointed when they leave because that could
signal those two programs starting to slip back. Hopefully not.
Yeah, so to close down the conversation in the ACC, Florida State and Miami are underachieving woefully. They should be winning, especially Florida State, 10 and 11 games a year, especially with the recruiting footprint that they have, and nobody's overachieving. Well, maybe Clemson's overachieving. But this again might be the new Clemson. It's been going on now for 5 or 6 years, so this must be what Clemson is now. But traditionally, Clemson's an 8-4 kind of school as well. But everybody else is either on par for what we can expect them to do or underachieving. Yeah, the ACC, outside of having the potential of those two Florida schools challenging Clemson and being a better football conference, we can't expect Virginia or Wake Forest or Virginia Tech or Pitt to be 10-2, 11-1 teams. They haven't been, they won't be, they just don't have the resources or the ability. So they're going to stumble around at 7-5, 8-4 at best, and that's who they are. And the ACC has a huge collection of those schools.
Right. Whole bunch of them.
Yep. Yes, they do. All right.
And then what about the Big Ten?
Oh, the Big Ten. The Big Ten. Well, I will say that Michigan's underachieving just from this standpoint. They are paying a coach to win championships, meaning he is a top 3 to 4 paid coach in the country, which to me equals you're being compensated to win championships. And I think Jim Harbaugh is a really good football coach, but he's going to have to break through. So they're underachieving from that standpoint. They're not necessarily underachieving from what we've seen out of Michigan for the last 20 years, a lot of 9-3s and 10-2s. And that's what Jim Harbaugh is doing. Other than that, obviously Maryland's underachieving. Not that they're a great football program, but we've certainly seen Maryland over the last 40 years go through spurts of a lot of 8 and 9 win seasons. And you would think for a team, a program that has a decent recruiting base of Virginia, Maryland, New Jersey, in that area, that they should, Pennsylvania, that they should be able to go, in a typical year, 4-5 in the Big Ten, win 3 non-conference games and go 7-5 and go to a lot of bowl games. And they're awful. And obviously Rutgers has done the same under Greg Schiano for years. They were winning 7 and 8 games a year and going to bowl games. And now they're just they're the worst program in college football in the Power 5. And they're awful. There are so many. You can pull up any box score of a Rutgers game this year, and it's laughable how awful they are. It's laughable. One of my favorite statistics from this football season is that Rutgers against Indiana, this wasn't against Ohio State, this was against Indiana, completed 5 passes for 1 yard in the game. That's tough to do. That whether you're throwing bubble screens or outlets to the running, whatever, that they gain 0.2 yards for 5 completions. That's hard to do. That's one of my favorite stats. And they do that almost every week. Like they gained like 100 yards last week against Michigan State. That's pretty much that's not even like, okay, we had a bad offensive week. No, that's what they do every week. They gain about 100 yards. It's awful. It's the kid that they benched at quarterback. I'm losing his name right this second. Anyway, Sitkowski. They benched him a few games ago. This kid threw 4 touchdowns and 18 interceptions last year. When do you see a stat line like that? That's how awful they are. So obviously they're underachieving, even though we've kind of just in a few short years come to be accustomed that Rutgers is this awful, but they shouldn't be this awful. And nobody else is underachieving, I don't think, in the Big Ten West. Northwestern for, again, just 1 year, but they were just in the championship game last year, so I expect them to bounce back. I think they are just Pat Fitzgerald. It's impossible to build and reload at a place like Northwestern, so you're going to have a downturn every so often for one season. But you mentioned Minnesota. Can Minnesota do this every year? Wow. If Minnesota is doing this 5 years from now, I will be hailing PJ Fleck as Nick Saban, Urban Meyer, Dabo Swinney company. I don't think he can keep this up, but I think that program can be, and if he's really as good a coach as I think he is, a step up from what the Jerry Kills and the Tracy Clays and the Glenn Masons were producing, which was typically 7-5, 8-4, okay bowl appearances.
Right.
I think he can do a little bit better than that. He can challenge, and based on where they're located, and I know that they have a tremendous new practice facility and athletic center that is just state of the art, that they spared no cost and just really poured a ton of money into, that they're really selling out for football, that they should be able to, it's not like Wisconsin's located in Florida. Obviously, they've got no great advantage from a recruiting standpoint. So maybe Minnesota, I don't think they can compete for national championships, but they can be another Wisconsin and go 9-3 in a typical season. They should be able to do that.
They can. I like Fleck a lot too. Now, do you see him staying there? Do you see him moving on to another job before long?
That's a great question. Yeah, that's a great question, because of course he's going to, like any other coach, tell you how much he loves being there and that's where he wants to be. But you just got to think, with his personality and his drive, that if he's winning 8 and 9 games there every year and sees the writing on the wall as, I've maxed out here, I can only do so much, I can't play with Ohio State. Right. I can't achieve to that level. And now I've done so much here. I'm getting those kind of opportunities where I could go to fill in the blank school. I could go to USC or wherever, that I would think, based on his personality, that he would be all in for that. The guy loves the limelight. He loves the spotlight. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just his personality.
No, not at all. He's a heck of a coach.
Yeah.
Some guys don't like it, but if you can thrive in it, more power to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a heck of a coach. I thought Minnesota would be solid this year. I did not expect them to play as well as they've played and been consistent as they've been.
I'm right there with you.
This year. They've done a nice job. Very nice job. All right, Mark, thanks a lot for taking my call.
Hey, I appreciate it.
All right, sir. I'll sit back and listen to the rest of the show.
Sounds great, sir. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Good hearing from you.
Same here. Bye-bye.
Mark Rogers, TV, the voice of college football. We appreciate that. We've got 73 on the line at 1 o'clock in the morning. So thank you so much. And again, I understand that these are impromptu live streams. And so I appreciate you guys being flexible and jumping on here when you see the notifications come out. And if you don't see the notifications come out, it's because you're not subscribed. So please subscribe if you love college football and you like what we do here. That doesn't mean you agree with me all the time. That just means that you appreciate what we do. We have a Florida State show that we do each and every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern time for 1 hour. We've got a Miami show that we do as well each and every week. That has had to float around because of scheduling difficulties. And an Ohio State show that we do once a week. People have asked me, do an LSU live stream, do a Florida live stream, do a Michigan live stream. I would love to do live streams on every team imaginable, but there's only so much time in my week. So 50 hours go to another job. So once we get to a certain place here, then I will be doing live streams all the time, and I will focus on other teams. If you ever have suggestions for specific guests that you would like to see here, certainly let me know that. And don't put that in the live chat because I'll lose it. Just comment to the channel. Or you can also always contact me. I am totally available at, where is it? MarkRogersTV@gmail.com. So any suggestions or anything that you have right there or requests, please leave them there. Bill, Mark, you should do Ohio State twice a week from here until the end of the playoffs. Our issue there, Bill, is that even though we've got a lot of people that contribute as guests to our Ohio State live stream, those people have their jobs with Rivals and 247 Sports, and they donate their time to me. and they're busy covering, in addition to football, basketball. So basketball has started. They've got basketball games to go to. It is difficult just to round up 2 or 3 of them once a week. And I work most nights, and it's just difficult to do. Bill, I would love to do that, but that's what we're focused on right now. And if I would add another live stream, I wouldn't add another live stream for the same team that I'm already doing. I would add an Oklahoma or Clemson or LSU or somebody, Michigan. What do we have here? A suggestion from Jayshawn. You should take a vote for each live stream, meaning what live stream should be added, I'm guessing. So we should take a vote, and whoever gets the most votes, I should add that live stream. That's a possibility. It's kind of difficult right now. Again, I got to kind of measure things once we hit the off season in terms of what's going to be best to deliver to you in terms of content, and also what's going to be feasible for me. Sometimes I tend to, this is just my nature, to bite off a little more than I can chew. That's just my nature, that I think I can do it all. And yeah. Haven't I answered this question a few times, Anthony? I appreciate you sending in that question a number of times. I would guess about 18 times that you've asked that. I think we've covered the coaching carousel in college football. Let's just wait for it to happen. We're going to get hit hard with this the day after. We should, for some of these schools, the day after the championship. I'm trying to think back. Will we get hit with these this Monday, this Sunday, after the regular season's over? We should, shouldn't we? So I'm going to have to deal with all of that. We should get hit with a slew of firings on Sunday. And then possibly then after the bowl games. But they typically happen so teams can get the jump on recruiting. I think this Sunday is going to be, I'm going to have to be locked in and loaded, although I got to work Sunday night. So I'm not going to be available. So we'll dive in on Monday if we've got a bunch of firings to deal with. So we'll talk about, so my typical approach to that is so-and-so got fired. Les Miles got fired at LSU. You're going to hear me come on here and let you know he should have been fired. He should not have been fired. And I'll give you my reasons why. I'll either justify the firing or I'll condemn the firing. And then I will deliver who I think should get the job and who's being talked about. Matthew, once back in the late 90s, early 2000s, the SEC West was weak and the SEC East was the beast with Tennessee and Florida. Yes, from the early 90s, after Alabama won the national championship in 92, Florida and Tennessee took over the East. And really the West, Auburn was up and down, 7-5, 9-3. They were back and forth. Alabama was up and down. So between 1994 and 2000, I was actually in the middle of all that, covering the SEC every week at the stadiums, going to the games, covering the games. Not that I had any more knowledge just because I was there, but just that was the deal. Yes. LSU, for as great as LSU is right now, and as much as we think of LSU as being an elite program, if you look at LSU pre-Nick Saban, you know what LSU looks like? LSU from the late 70s to the year 2000, LSU looks like North Carolina State. That might seem ridiculous to anybody, but go back and look at LSU's records from 1980 to the year 2000. And don't tell me that they don't look like North Carolina State. I was going to say Michigan State, but not Michigan. Not the Michigan State we've seen since D'Antonio took over, going to Rose Bowls and Cotton Bowls and finishing in the top 10 and winning Big Ten championships. Not that Michigan State. The Michigan State from the 90s and the early 2000s, yes. Yeah, I will say LSU and North Carolina State. If you take the 20 years from 1980 to 2000, that was LSU football. LSU is not a good football program. 6-5, 5-6, 7-4, 8-3, 6-5. They did go to 2 Sugar Bowls in 1984 and 86 and got rolled by Nebraska both times. They had a lot of really good talent. The Marshall Falks of the world are not Marshall Falk, Kevin Falk, and a lot of wide receivers, of course, that we could go through during that time. Yeah, a lot of NFL talent, just like any other SEC team at that level, Mississippi State or somebody like that. But yeah, LSU. Thanks, Cheryl. Thank you, Jacob. Jacob, this is the first time I've seen your handle. Welcome to Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Jacob, I would love to know who you root for and how long you've been watching. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Bill, thank you. Appreciate that. Matthew, how do you think I'll do on my 4-game parlay? Well, keep in mind that my predictions can be found at the Voice of College Football community on Patreon. You can grab the link in any of the description sections below. I'm 11-6 against the spread last week, 57% against the spread this season, 77% straight up. Okay, those are top 25 games. And I even hurt my percentage by predicting all the top 25 games. I don't pick and choose. I just pick them all. Nebraska plus 5.5, Ohio State minus 8. Minnesota plus 2.5, Miami of Ohio. Well, I've got absolutely no opinion on the final game. I have no idea how good those teams are. I just cannot keep track of MAC football. I think those are all toss-up picks. Nebraska, I'm leaning your way. Ohio State, I'm tending to lean the Michigan route with the points. Minnesota, 2.5. If you look at betting odds, once you get under 3, it's really inconsequential most of the time. Of course, there are football games decided by 1 and 2 points, but typically that's inconsequential. So you need 3 points for it to matter, typically. So you understand, Matthew, the probability of you winning this parlay here is minuscule. So I hope it's paying off in spades. You're needing 4 consecutive wins there. So even if you have a 60% chance of winning each one of those, do the math. 60 times 60, follow me here, is 360. It's 0.36. That means 36% chance of hitting the first 2. And then it goes down from there because you got to multiply it again by 60%. And that's if you have a 60% chance of winning each one of those games. 36% times 60%. And then you're down to like 18% or something like that. Your chances of winning that parlay are something like 12%, something like that. So, not a big proponent of the parlays. All right. So again, I hope many of you have caught the vision of what we're trying to accomplish here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. It's to deliver the best in discussion, debate, and analysis. I think that we do that on a fairly regular basis, but we can do better. And we will attempt to do better. If you have certain guests that you would like to see here, I grabbed up a batch of guest requests recently, and I contacted those people on Twitter. That's the best I can do. Matthew only betting $10. So that's actually worth it because you're not going to miss the $10. And I'm going to guess the $10 is going to pay off if you hit all 4 straight, probably $250. I don't know. Maybe probably not that much, I guess. So it's worth it. It's fun. Always my only suggestion with betting is use it, consider it entertainment, unless you're really hardcore and it's an investment at that point. Consider it entertainment, just like going out for the night and saying, I can afford to blow $100 tonight on food and booze, and I won't say anything else, just that. So instead, I'm going to blow $100 gambling on football games this weekend. If you can truly afford that, then there's nothing wrong with it. If you can't afford it, then you shouldn't do it. All right, folks. Again, I hope you're catching the vision here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. And if you haven't seen much of what we do, please lock it in and just track us and see if you like what we do. And I would love to get my goal was to get to 20,000 subscribers by January 1st. I am way behind. I like to set achievable goals, but very aggressive goals. And I thought I could get there. But at roughly 16,200, and I'm picking up about 1,000 a month, I'm obviously not going to get there. But I think we can do it. Let people know out there that we're here. That's my little bit of homework that I ask you to do for me this week. Just let people know we're here, whether that's in person, family, friends, people on social media, on Facebook and Twitter. Just let them know, hey, we talk college football here all the time. All right, folks, we're going to wrap it up for this fine night. I aim to comment on Virginia Tech and Iowa, Nebraska tomorrow at the very least. Also on Saturday, Ohio State, Michigan, Auburn, Alabama, and Minnesota, Wisconsin at the very least. And I hope to do better than that. I will let you know as early as possible about live streams. And Murder Blaze, good to see you. Have a great night. Everybody else have a great night. And we will see you soon. Happy Thanksgiving once again. Please be thankful for what you have. And I hope you do much better, certainly going forward in 2020. And let's have a great conclusion to the college football season. Rivalry week this weekend, championship week. The Bulls will do it up big. And it's only because of you. Right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. See you, Chris. Bill, thank you. Cheryl, as always, it's a pleasure. And have not seen this guy tonight, but he gives me a happy Thanksgiving. Not us, not you, Stexer. Good to see you.